And I do know that if you do that right, then they may want to invite you for an interview. What's going on, guys? Dr. Ryan Gray back with another episode here on Premed TV. I hope you're having a great week, and I hope that this video will maybe clarify a lot of the things that I've said in the past and will give you some context moving forward. I'm going to tell you not to listen to me. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, smash that bell to be notified of more great videos every week. So let me start with a confession. A confession that I haven't kept secret. I don't hide it. And when people ask me, I tell them. I get a lot of questions from students saying, Dr. Gray, have you ever been on an admissions committee? Nope, I have not. I've never been on an admissions committee. And then the typical response is, well, how do you know what to tell people then? Well, a lot of it is common sense. A lot of it is my podcast, the Premed Years podcast, which if you haven't listened to, you should. And very, 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 very little of it is my own personal experience. Now, a lot of people going into this world of telling pre-meds what to do it from a, here's what I did, and so here's what will work for you. And the whole purpose behind me starting the medical school headquarters back in 2012, 8 years ago now, was to stop that perpetuation of, here's what I did, so here's what you should do as well. I started the medical school headquarters with the sole purpose of getting facts and data directly from medical schools, directly from the people making the decisions. That's where I get my knowledge. That's how I can relay the information to you. So while I've never been on an admissions committee, I've been one by proxy, because I've got to talk to at conferences, have dinner with. I've interviewed dozens and dozens and dozens of deans and directors of admissions, physicians, or other people who are on admissions committees. I have been able to soak up their knowledge. I've been able to ask them and interview them on the Premed Years podcast to discuss what they're looking for, what candidates they like, what they don't like. And I get to pick and choose and take that context and go, okay, here's what I'm hearing from this school, here's what I'm hearing from this school, and maybe the truth for the majority of people is maybe somewhere in the middle. And I get to give you that context because I listen and I talk to all of these people. So don't listen to me, listen to them. You are listening to them through listening to me. Now, obviously, I add in my own information, my own knowledge, my own likes, beliefs, and dislikes. That's human nature, right? I like to add in my own stuff as well. And through the 8 years I've been doing this, I've taken stuff from outside of the pre-med world, the medical school world, and have adapted it to the medical school world. Now, there's something called the hero's journey, and it's this framework of how to tell a story. And I love the hero's journey because it really gets at the heart of who you are and the journey that you've been on. Now, I like the hero's journey because it really focuses on you. And when I have students write their personal statements, when I have them work on their applications, a lot of that framework comes from telling a story with the rough kind of idea of what the hero's journey looks like. Now, is that the only way to tell a story? Is that the only way to write an application? Absolutely not. I've had students reach out to me going, Dr. Gray, I read your book and I followed it to the T and I sent it to my advisor and they hated it. They hated the stories. They want to know what separates me from everyone else. You're probably going to hear that too. If you follow my advice, you may give your personal statement to an advisor, to a mentor, to an admissions committee member at your dream medical school, and they may not like it. They may think it's complete trash, and that's okay. Because you know what? Not every person subscribes to the same ideas that I do. I want to teach you what I like, what I've heard from, again, dozens and dozens and dozens of admissions committee members, what they like, what they don't like. And that's what I talk about. Now, the biggest piece of context that I can give you, the biggest piece is take what I tell you not to do, maybe more than what I tell you to do. That may help you more in the long run. But I will tell you, if telling a story around why you want to be a physician works for you, if you can tell your story in the way that I recommend telling a story, amazing. If you can't, that's okay too. Because at the end of the day, the application that you put forward has to be your story. Now, I don't talk about it a lot, I don't think, but for my personal statement book, I reached out to a dean of a very, very prominent medical school, and I said, Dr. So-and-so, can you give me a quote for this book I'm working on about the importance of the personal statement? And he goes, actually, we don't like the personal statement because most students take advice from too many people. And what they're left with is not a personal statement, they're left with a village statement. And so as you are going through the process of telling your story, of listening to these videos or watching these videos, listening to my podcasts, reading my books, going out and looking at other information, don't try to mash it all together and come up with your story. Figure out what your story is and then figure out how to tell it. That's the biggest piece of advice that I can tell you. Don't just blindly listen to what I'm telling you, because I don't know. I just listen, and then I spit back out what I hear from the people who are making the decisions. I do know that humans love stories. That's why I love stories. I do know that when an admissions committee member is reading 100 applications and all of them say, I'm dedicated and hardworking and motivated and I know that I'm ready to be a physician, that it's all trash. I do know that when I see a story and I understand a person's obstacles, I understand where they were enlightened to the field of healthcare, how they have continued to strengthen their desire to be a physician. I do know that humans love that story. I do know that our psychology resonates with stories. And I do know that if you do that right, then they may want to invite you for an interview. Does that mean that's the only way to tell your story? Absolutely not. And so again, what I want you to get out of our video today is that you shouldn't just blindly listen to me. If you are struggling with writing your personal statement after reading my book, if you're struggling coming up with your story in the framework that I talk about of what is your seed and then what watered your seed, if you're struggling, then don't use it. Figure out a different way to tell your story, and that's okay too. When it comes to the extracurricular activities, I did a video a few weeks ago about the do's and don'ts of writing extracurricular activities. I have seen way too many examples from students who have watched those videos and go, okay, here's my extracurriculars, can you critique them? And what typically happens is they go too far into the storytelling, and then I don't have any kind of reflection into what that experience meant to them. For a most meaningful, you have to really answer, why is this most meaningful for you? Don't fill up all 1,325 characters with a story that has no ending. The ending is the reflection. Why was this important? So as you're going through, listen to my words and then listen to your story and figure out how to be truthful to who you are and to the story that you want to tell. Again, the biggest piece of advice that I can give you is avoid the mistakes that I talk about. The mistakes of overly selling yourself. Really focusing on, these are the traits that are a good physician, and oh, guess what? I have the same traits, therefore, I should be a physician. So many students go down that path. that it becomes super cliche. Now, I talk about it all the time. Common doesn't equal cliche, as long as common is your story. Being dedicated isn't your story. Being motivated isn't your story. Being a hard worker, liking science, wanting to help people, that is not your story. Your story are the experiences that you've had and what you've taken away from those experiences. Those stories and experiences may be common, but that's okay because it's your story. And so the common mistakes of focusing only on traits and strengths and all of those things, that is bad. I will stick to those guns for as long as I can continue talking. Avoid the mistakes. Stick to your story. However you tell that story, I'm okay with. I've read a ton of essays that don't follow kind of the template in the book, and that's okay. Because at the end, after reading it, I can go, I know who this person is. I know what is motivating them. I know what their desires are. I know what they want to be and do in this world. And they sound interesting, and I want to talk to them. That is the goal at the end of the day with your application and your personal statement. Who are you? What have you done? And what has it meant to you? Now, I wrote about one framework in this book, and maybe in another book, I'll write about a different framework. So when you are stuck, don't just focus on the words. Focus on the context behind what I'm telling you. Understand that you may come up with a brilliant personal statement that follows my kind of guidelines, and you're gonna get feedback maybe that the person doesn't like it, and that's okay. Understand that there's no one right way to write a personal statement. There's no one right way to write your extracurricular activities. Focus on your story and what this journey has meant to you. As long as you do that and you're true to yourself, then you've probably done a good job. If you write a brilliant personal statement that you think tells your story and you get feedback from someone that says, oh, you're not selling yourself enough, oh, you're not talking about what's separating yourself from everyone else or what makes you unique, and you don't want to do that because you've read my book and you understand that there's really no standing out, right? Everything's been done short of curing cancer or COVID-19. If you don't want to try to sell yourself in that way because you agree with me, then great. Say thank you for the advice, thank you for that feedback, and move forward. Now, some of you may be stuck because your advisor, who's going to write a committee letter, wants something different. And that's where you'll just have to have a conversation with them and say, you know what, I appreciate your advice, but I really, really, really like my story that I told here. I really think it reflects who I am, and I want to keep it. Now, if they won't let you, that's on them. That's not on you. I've gotten feedback from students after giving them feedback to say, you know what, Dr. Gray, I don't like this feedback. And I say, okay, that's fine. Tell your story. At the end of the day, it's your story that matters. Your story. The accomplishments, the obstacles, the experiences, all of that, and what it has meant to you. That's your application in a nutshell. That's what you get across in an interview. Not, I'm hardworking, I'm motivated, I'm dedicated. Avoid those things. Tell your story. Don't just listen to me. Take a lot of pieces of advice. Understand that what I'm telling you, again, isn't from my experience being on an admissions committee because I've never been on one. But I can text probably a dozen or so admission committee members right now, deans and directors of admissions committee members. I Instagram DM them, I Facebook message them. I get testimonials about what I teach in my books from them. So understand that what I'm telling you isn't just from me, but really an aggregation and a kind of a mashup of all of the advice that I get. And understand that it's not the only way to do things. Hopefully that was helpful for you. Again, don't forget to subscribe. Hit that like button if this was helpful for you. I appreciate all of you. The YouTube channel has really blown up in the last several months. I have more great, exciting series for you, including our new Mission Accepted, which got rave reviews on National Premed Day. If you haven't watched that video yet, please go do so. Have a great week. We'll see you next time here on Premed TV.